Fire to get rid of a corrupt police chief. What does it take to do that? Hey everybody, it's your boy Captain Hunter coming at you again. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Let's take a look at this. This is a story I came across, came across my news feed this is from Crosscut, and there's also a video that popped up on my YouTube suggestion. So we're gonna check both of those out. I have not read this article yet, and nor have I watched the video. So we're gonna do this right now. Seattle Police Department Chief Adrian Diaz out amid controversy after his 4 years in the position. The shakeup follows accusations of discrimination, female officers suing for sexual harassment. That's always going to be a thing, unfortunately, and more complaints. Let's see what this guy is alleged to have been doing. Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz stands with Mayor Bruce Harrell at a press conference announcing his nomination for the job September 20th, 2022. So he's only been there, for 4 years, right? Adrian Diaz is out as Seattle's chief of police. The departure comes amid increasing controversy about discrimination and retaliation on the force, a lawsuit and an external investigation into sexism claims, and struggles to rebuild a diminished department. This is a really, really big problem concerning law enforcement. There's these particularly retaliation, right? You reassign people. This is something that all police departments struggle with. Retaliation. Well, not I can't say all, but many police departments struggle with retaliation. Right? You don't do what I say. You don't write the report I tell you to write it. You don't engage in conduct I'm telling you to engage in. Then they reassign you. We've seen this in the Tiffany Henyard situation, right? The mayor down there in Dalton and Thornton Township and all that, right? Retaliation. Allegations of retaliation, I should say. Mayor Bruce Harrell announced at a press conference Wednesday that Diaz would be stepping down as chief to work on special projects. Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on here. This is code speech for there's a lot of things going on here, and we don't know what he's going to do, but we can't pay him to sit home and do nothing while we do the investigations. So we got to give him some special projects, right? Look into restructuring or how we handle restructuring the department. They'll have them look into, what to do about the homeless situation, how our domestic violence numbers, our manpower numbers, all this different type of stuff, right? The mayor said he is appointing former King County Sheriff Sue Rahr as interim chief. Rahr was also executive director of the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission and a member of the President Obama's task force in 21st century policing. Harrell said Rahr has indicated she will not be a candidate for the permanent police chief job. I know there's a few chiefs or former chiefs that just go around just kind of filling in for a month or two, collecting a paycheck, trying to straighten out whatever they can within that month or two, or sometimes 6 months to a year, depending on how long the hiring process goes to actually formally hire a new chief. Harrell appointed Diaz to lead Seattle PD in September 22. He had already served as SPD's interim chief for 2 years following Carmen Best's resignation in 2020. Diaz rose through the ranks during nearly 20-year career at SPD. Harrell could not provide details of what his special projects role would entail, what his title would be, or the salary it will pay. Again, right, these are all things that the taxpayers need to know or should know, because you're going to pay this guy to sit home and do nothing. Is there going to be an end product? The mayor praised the outgoing chief for his service to the department. Listen, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to have you step down. This is all code speak here. We're going to have you step down, and we're not going to make a big deal about this. If we do find out anything, you're just going to already be resigned. You'll be able to finish out your nearly 30-year career, take that paycheck, and just sail off into the sunset. Write a book, become a consultant, teach, do something else. But whatever's he's got going on here is just too much. I would be the first to say his integrity in my mind is beyond reproach, said Harrell. Diaz is a friend, and I want to thank him for his service. In his own remarks, Diaz tallied what he sees as his accomplishments, including launching the Beyond Badge community policing initiative, helping move the department toward compliance with federal consent decree, helping start the CARE alternative response program, and more. That's probably with mental health, all that. Breaking into tears, Diaz says, I've accomplished so much in the 4 years as chief, and there's more work to be done. I'll pass that challenge along to my successor, and I'll continue to support the city as I transition to this new role. Though the mayor was laudatory, Diaz's time as chief has been plagued by controversy. Harrell said there was no one incident that led him to asking Diaz to step down. So here it is, right? We're asking you to step down, right? Don't put the department through this type of embarrassment. Just go off into the sunset. He expressed a concern that the ongoing investigations would be a distraction for the department and for the chief. Listen, Tiffany Henyard needs to take some lessons for this. Some people just refuse to step down. Harrell said he also wanted to ensure no member of SPD staff would fear retaliation for voicing their concerns. Earlier this month, an SPD captain sued the department alleging racial discrimination and retaliation. In April, 4 female officers sued the department alleging sexual discrimination and harassment by Diaz and Sergeant John O'Neill, one of Diaz's top supervisors. In response, Harrell hired an external investigator to examine the claims. So these, even in 2024, there's still a lot of discrimination that goes on. You wouldn't think it would be, right? Well, all the trainings that they get. I teach at a couple of universities. Every so often, I got to do these types of trainings and all that. So it's unfortunate that this is the allegations. Don't know if they're true or not. People are always going to allege things. In response, Harrell hired an internal investigator to examine the claims. The harassment lawsuit follows a February report commissioned by SPD as part of an effort to hire more and retain more female officers that depicted the department as a good old boys club. This is a common trope. This is what I did my dissertation on. Well, part of my dissertation, I discussed this, right? The good old boys club, the sexual harassment, why female officers don't want to stay on a job. With widespread reports of sexual harassment and discrimination, and that women were often passed over for promotion. In January, Diana Nolete, a 30-year veteran of the force and former assistant chief, sued Diaz, alleging a history of misogyny. She later alleged that Diaz retaliated against her for the lawsuit by removing her to the night shift. Last year, Detective Denise Cookie Baldwin sued the city, alleging racial and gender discrimination at SPD. The year prior, the city opened a new Detective Cookie Chess Park to honor her for years of service of leading youth chess club. A trio of longtime community advocates, including Reverend Harriet Walden of Mothers for Police Accountability, recently held a press conference to publicly defend Diaz against the accusations and lawsuits, saying he could not defend himself. In a May interview with Cascade PBS, Harrell celebrated Diaz for showing remarkable leadership and how he has disciplined officers who have been accused of misconduct. In addition to the recent string of controversies, Diaz led a department struggling to rebuild its ranks. SPD has experienced years of a wave of officer departures that outpaced its ability to hire. The department currently has 1,000 deployable officers, down from 2019 high of 1,400. Nobody wants to be cops anymore. They aren't taking the test. They can't talk them into doing it, no matter what the economic downturns are. They don't want to go through this time. They don't want to go become police officers who are taking early retirements. They're on a job for 2, 3, 4 years. They're going to other line of work, particularly, when we look at this terrible situation with the airmen in Florida, and this officer was just fired, and could be looking at criminal charges. And when they fire you, they are washing their hands of you, and you no longer have the support of the department and the city. You don't have access to their attorneys to defend you and all that. That's one of the biggest reasons that they fire officers ahead of criminal charges. So the officer exodus began before Diaz became interim chief. Is far from unique to Seattle, but he has overseen several initiatives to bolster hiring and have been largely unsuccessful. Yeah, that's not his fault. In 2022, the city council approved the new hiring bonuses of up to $30,000 for experienced officers joining SPD. The city also dedicated more money for marketing and outreach to potential hires. May 14th, The council ratified a new contract for the Seattle Officers Guild, providing a 23% bump in retroactive and ongoing pay that will make starting SPD salary the highest in the region. Part of the rationale for the pay increase was to make Seattle more appealing to potential applicants. Traditionally, urban, smaller towns pay more than larger cities. So they're trying to do something about that. RAR sought her first action when she takes over as interim chief. Beginning Thursday will be to listen to any and all the members of the department to help her understand what needs to change and improve the culture. I want to hear from the men and women of Seattle PD, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you need, said RAR on Wednesday. I need you to be brutally honest with me so I can understand. RAR said she wants to focus on recruitment in her time as interim chief and make SPD the most attractive department in the country for women to work in. One step in accomplishing that, allowing more flexible scheduling to help parents balance work and family. It is a problem. Work and family is a problem. The work-family balance is a problem. During last year's legislative session, RAR worked with Senator John Lovick to pass a law allowing flexible police schedules. Yeah. Police schedules is a problem. I mean, we had a 5-2, 5-2, 5-3 schedule, right? Other departments have 5 days on, 3 days off. Some have 4 days on, 4 days off with 12-hour work days. You gotta work on that type of thing because nobody wants to do that. People are enjoying. Listen, I quit the last job I had. I enjoyed the job. It was a great job. The environment was great. But I just wanted my work. I just wanted my free time. Harrell said the search for a permanent police chief will begin next week and that former Seattle Police Chief Kathleen O'Toole will assist in recruiting candidates. They hope to have a new chief in place in the next 4 to 6 months. So let's take a look at maybe this will cover more of the allegations here. Let's see what the allegations are. This is an 11-minute video. We're not gonna.
Developing tonight, Adrian Diaz is out as Seattle Police Chief after leading the department for the past 4 years, first as interim chief and then in a permanent role.
This afternoon, Mayor Bruce Harrell named former King County Sheriff Sue Rahr to replace Diaz on a temporary basis starting tomorrow morning. We have team coverage tonight, including Jeremy Harris with community reaction to the news and Lynn Ann Wynn with a look at the legal battles the police department still faces. But we start with senior reporter Chris Daniels, who was there for the big announcement today. Chris?
Yeah, Mary, body language said a lot during an unusual 1 hour long news conference at a time when Diaz is facing multiple HR complaints and the city is struggling to attract new officers.
And just to be clear, I'm sorry.
This did not look like a mutual decision.
I want to thank the men and women of the Seattle Police Department for their hard work and the community that has supported us through every challenge.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell has effectively demoted the chief.
It was a result of deliberative thought, strategic thinking, a commitment to excellence, and we decided to make a leadership change.
Harrell says Diaz will be a special advisor in an undefined role, and former King County Sheriff Sue Rahr will be the interim chief. The mayor acknowledging several times multiple allegations of harassment and discrimination against Diaz, becoming a distraction for a city still several hundred officers short. You have obviously several active investigations into the police department, and you now have an interim chief. How do you possibly tell recruits to come to Seattle?
To answer your question directly, Chris, we have a wonderful police department. That's how we recruit. We are on the cutting edge. We pay a competitive salary. A city-wide body of employees that embrace the values we believe in. And Seattle's a great city.
When I look at what's happening inside the Seattle Police Department right now, I know there is some turbulence, but there is some incredible work being done.
Seattle Council members Rob Saka and Tanya Wu had differing opinions on the shakeup.
Councilmember Saka, do you agree with this move?
I strongly support the mayor and his decision today. It's a tough decision.
We've been through a lot in the last 6 years with Chief Best and now Chief Diaz, and now we have to start all over again and build trust and build that connection with a new chief.
So you're not happy with this move?
I'm still shocked, not happy, because we love Chief Diaz and we trusted him.
RAR takes over officially tomorrow. Harrell says that former Seattle Police Chief Kathleen O'Toole will lead a national search for a full-time replacement. That's the story live at Seattle City Hall tonight. I'm Chris Daniels, KOMO News.
Chris, thank you. Today, Councilmember Bob Kettle, the chair of the Public Safety Committee, issued this statement about the staffing changes. I respect Mayor Harrell's decision and look forward to working with Interim Chief Rohr on our public safety challenges. He goes on to say further, we have a lot of work to do to better support officers within the department and address the permissive criminal environment in Seattle.
Mayor Harrell said that he hopes to name a new chief within 4 to 6 months. But he admitted that that's an optimistic timeline. We know that the previous search took more than 2 years. Former Police Chief Carmen Best stepped down in August of 2020. Adrian Diaz immediately stepped in as interim chief, but wasn't formally appointed to the permanent role until September of 2022. During today's news conference, Adrian Diaz was asked about his immediate future. He said he plans to take time off to address some medical issues, and he said that after that, anything is possible.
I do think there's still a lot to offer, and I want to make sure that the city gets everything that I want to be able to help out with. And then I'll assess what it looks like for maybe another city. I don't know. But right now, I think it's also just kind of taking a little bit of time for myself.
Mayor Harrell said he will meet with Interim Chief Rohr in the coming days to discuss Diaz's specific title with the police department moving forward.
This afternoon, the Seattle Police Officers Guild released this statement.
All right, I'm going to leave it off right there. This sounds like a bunch of nonsense. It really sounds like a bunch of nonsense. I'm quite sure that here's what went down. They were like, listen, we got a lot of stuff going on here, and there's a lot of allegations going on. We don't want any of this kind of stuff. You're going to step down. We're going to pay you whatever it is. You got 27 years of service. Probably stay on there for 3 years, where we need to move in a different direction. Appoint somebody new. Appoint a female to be the head of this department, right? To stop this kind of crazy nonsense. And listen, man, this is the trouble. This is the trouble when how do you say this? How do you say this, right? Delicately. There can always be allegations. There can always be allegations of misconduct, of inappropriateness, sexual harassment, retaliation when you reassign people and all that type of thing. He's being reassigned right now, and for no other reason, right? But I'm sure that they probably had a conversation with him. Hey, listen, here's what we're going to pay you, and you're going to walk out the door. You want to stay here for 30 years, whatever, right? He just talked about going to another department, what his role is going to be, how all that. This is a move that they're doing to satisfy the people who are suing. For whatever reason. And this, if you're a male and you're in law enforcement as an upper ranking member, man, this can be real. This is something you really have to do. Now, I don't know whether these allegations are true or not, or, he's really retaliating, or what he's like behind the scenes. I don't know anything about this, but man, this really seems like it really seems very, very bad. It seems like there's certainly more to this story than what the news is reporting here. I'm quite sure that there are some damning lawsuits that are going forth, maybe more potentially they're looking at. But, chiefs have to make reassignments. They had to make tough decisions in order to better their department. It could be that one lady who was reassigned to the midnight shift, maybe that's where she was needed. It's not always retaliation. It's not always, and of course there was internal investigations about all this kind of stuff, right? I'd be anxious to, kind of curious to read these external investigations. Let's see if we can click on that. Because I'm always lawsuit harassment followed a February report. I hired an internal investigator. Yeah, so I don't know if the public has any knowledge of this or ability to deal with it, but sometimes it's culture too. Yeah, this is Seattle's a good old boys club. This is from NPR Network. right? These are always the allegations. Listen, this is in my dissertation. I talked about this. This is always the allegations that Seattle's a good old boys club. We can't make any inroads. We can't get promoted. There's sexual harassment going on here, and I'm not saying any of that is okay by any. Seattle mayor taps independent investigator to look into claims of gender discrimination in Seattle PD. I mean, I like to read stuff like this. I know everybody doesn't, but $5 million tort claim. The investigation comes after 4 female officers within the Seattle PD filed a $5 million tort claim against the city, outlining insistence of alleged harassment by some of the department's top brass, with Chief Adrian Diaz and Sergeant John O'Neill accused of grooming and predatory behavior against women in the department. If you are a boss in any department, in any police department, corrections, sheriff's department, university, it is a bad idea. It is a bad idea. It is a bad idea to sleep with your subordinates, because this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. You will be accused of it. It can be completely consensual. That it can be what's a young lady who I never covered that story, but the young lady who was sleeping with a bunch of dudes in the police department, and she got fired because they were sleeping with each other on duty, and a couple other officers got fired. Some got demoted. She sued and she won. It's a bad idea.
Connie Spencer, Valerie Carson, Jean Gulpan, and Lauren Truscott are the 4 female officers coming forward.
At least 3 of my clients are currently being used by the department as recruiting tools to encourage more women to apply for the department.
Attorney Sumir Singla says his clients describe a hostile work environment, specifically because of the alleged actions of then Sergeant John O'Neill, Chief Adrian Diaz, and Human Resource Manager Rebecca McKechnie. O'Neill and the police chief are accused of engaging in grooming and predatory behavior. Officer Spencer claims O'Neill made her physically uncomfortable by his advances. During a conversation about a job involving a police canine, when she said she didn't have a suitable place for the dog, he allegedly replied, "You can live with me. My ex-wife is still there, but it's no big deal." Officer Gulpan says O'Neill bragged about his success with women and allegedly told her she needed to learn how to handle her emotions because the men in the office are not to handle female moods. Officer Carson said Chief Diaz paid special attention to her, chatting at the end of her shift and making flattering comments about her outfits that made her uncomfortable. The HR manager is accused of engaging in victim blaming when officers came forward with complaints. The Seattle Police Department released a statement that says, in part, the department will not respond to the personal attacks rooted in rough estimations of hearsay, reflecting at their core individual perceptions of victimhood that are unsupported.
So the chief needs to answer the question, when the women that you're using to encourage other women to apply say they're being abused, are you going to take them seriously, or are you just going to start putting out press releases saying that we're going to blame the victims for thinking they're victims?
Now, these allegations come at a time when Seattle police say they want to increase the number of women working for the department to 30% by the year 2030. Joyce?
So the claim was filed, you said yesterday. What's next now for the case?
Well, the city has 60 days to investigate and respond to the claim. Joyce?
Natalie Swaby.
Listen, if you are in a boss's position, man, you have an obligation to make sure that you are not doing this type of behaviors, and that you are ensuring that sexual harassment training is going on and that your people are not doing it. If you're HR manager, you have a duty to engage in all this. And again, these are allegations. I'm not saying any of this is true on either side. There could be a great deal of misunderstandings, a great deal of conflation going on here. And all that, I totally acknowledge that, man. But you gotta be super careful. And this is what is making so many people. When people laughed at, what was it? The Vice President Mike Pence, the Mike Pence rule about not talking to ladies, and there were articles written years ago. You know, this is 2024. There were articles written in 2021, I think, or as early in 2019, about lady employees in different types of organizations, not just policing, but business organizations, saying that they didn't want I got to teach a leadership class too. I think I'm going to talk about this story. I got to design a leadership class. I'm going to talk about this story. I'm going to write that down. They didn't want their ladies. Mike Pence ruled, right? So they weren't going to happy hour with them. They didn't talk to them, and so they were sued. They were upset about that. I believe there was some lawsuits going on about that, because if you can't interact with these people on the golf course or happy hour, or go out, for drinks and stuff, you're not getting into that internal mesh. And so therefore you're being looked over for potential promotions or special assignments or good jobs within the business sector. And so here we are again, right? Where you got to be careful, man. You should have if you are a supervisor or manager, man, you really male, you really should have somebody else with you when you're dealing with this. Of course, you should keep it out of your mouth, keep it out of your mind, keep it professional at all times. But I would advocate, man, that people really, really tread carefully with this type of thing. $5 million they're asking for. This is why this guy got fired. This is why he got fired. $5 million. And in order to show that, you got to show. I'd also be very, very curious as to the woman there. To the woman who was the head of HR, because she didn't do it. She's alleged to be a part of it, not have done anything to stop this. And when it went to her, man, this is bad. This is bad. Thoughts and opinions. Much love and peace.